Apart from your team, apart from the people close to you who I guess are getting a little bit of a glimpse of what you're trying to put together, I guess you don't know whether your documentary is going to kill in terms of public response or if it's going to bomb in terms of public response. So how do you, is that something you deal with, or how do you navigate that uncertainty as you're piecing together, especially such a long project?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a lot of layers to that. I mean, on one level, yes, I'm trying to make things that resonate with people so that it is seen, like I had a friend one time who was like, I'm fine if my films are just seen in the local library. And I remember thinking like, I'm not. Like it's like the John Lennon like quit art school because people listen to rock and roll. I think part of the beauty of film is like I want people to see it. Like I want it to have an audience. But that being said, I can't start from that place. I usually just start from a very personal place. And I think I'm a huge lifelong fan of movies. And I do think a lot about like, would I want to see this? And would I pay to see this? Would I wait in line to see this? Would I seek this out? Like, would I, so some of it's that, some of it's, as you mentioned, I work with a team of just incredibly, incredibly talented folks. And I've worked with them for many, many years now. So there is some calibration there sometimes. And I also think you just learn as you go on. I mean, I still feel like I am right at the beginning of learning how to do this job. And I mean that very seriously. Like there's still, every time we finish a film, there's kind of this party that's like, wow, I learned this whole new thing that I didn't know before. Like I learned this new, in music, like I learned this new note or this thing that I couldn't do in the last film. I did on this film, but also I just discovered there's like 3 other things I need to learn going forward, and it's like everyone is such a learning curve, which I think is what makes it so fascinating. I still see films and you walk out and you just think like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. Like I'm sure you're that way with stuff where it's like, you see a comedian, you hear music, whatever it is, like, you're just like, what? Like that was possible. Yeah. So I think it's part of why I love this whole journey is like, it feels like it could keep your fascination your whole life because you could never master it. I think something about creativity and storytelling is like, there is literally no ceiling. It feels like there's just such infinite ability to work the craft over and over and over. So for me, like if I can be really honest, more of my mindset now has become, will they let me just do it again? Can I just do the next one? Like, can I just do it again? Because every time you finish up and you just think like, it's fascinating to watch how an audience responds to it. And it can be really fulfilling when it works. And it can be tough in moments that you thought were going to work. But more than all that, it's just like, oh, I'm going to get it on the next one. Like, and still there's that feeling that's like, I don't know if you have this too. I think part of the beauty of creative stuff is like, I'll never forget one of our early on films, The True Cost, that you mentioned. We had this incredible experience. I made it with a couple of these friends I'd grown up with. We had no money. We crisscrossed the world for a couple of years. We shot in like 12 countries. It was this unbelievably challenging film to make. And I ended up really sick in a hospital at one point, ran out of money. Like all this stuff was happening. And it was electrifying, but it was also really, really hard. And then we got to take it to this big film festival, and that was a big deal, and Netflix bought it, and that was a really big deal. And I remember sitting in Cannes in France that night when all that had gone down, and I remember kind of feeling sad. And I remember it like dawned on me that the process was over. Like the experience that I had actually been like, well, we got to get through this to get to that point where you get that like. So now I'm just so in love with the process of making it. I'm so in love with what we learn. I'm so in love with like just the life that happens for me and our team and these experiences you have where you're scared and you're like right there on the edge of your ability and you don't know if it's going to work. And you don't know, I mean, every time, like to your original question, like you still have that moment where you're like staying in a cheap motel and it's Thursday morning at 5 a.m. and you have that panic of like, is this interesting? Like, have I lost my mind on this one? But yeah, I think like, can we do it well enough to just get the right to do it again? Because every time you finish and you're sitting in the theater and you're like, but the next one, it's almost like every creative pursuit has to be inherently disappointing because that disappointment in a way is what propels you to do it again.